Here is a 2023 Audi Q4 50 e-tron Quattro in Mythos black metallic over black leather. This is going to share a lot of components off of the Volkswagen ID4. Is it going to be comparable to the rivals for the range? I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and some of the competition, meaning Volvo, Tesla, Volkswagen, there's a lot coming into this segment, and Audi starts off with LED headlamps, dynamic turn signals, 7.1 inches of clearance, which is the best in class over all of the competition. Underneath the hood does not receive a frunk, so it's going to be similar to the ID4. Standard quattro drive, paddle shifters are an option, but for 2024 that will be standard. This will have a little bit less range than the Tesla that will be the best at 330 miles for the long range, but this will be right at the same numbers as the ID4. A big difference between the two is for a DC quick charge. On the ID4 you can get 170 kilowatt. Here only 150, so that's going to change 0 to 80% to 36 minutes. Another change from this into the ID4, you only get one battery option, which is the 82 kilowatt battery. It's a dual motor setup. You can option a rear wheel drive, whereas on the ID4 they offer a cheaper variant. This is going to get 236 mile range on a level 2 charge, or 240 volt. It's going to take 9 hours, which is pretty much the standard for electric vehicles. With 295 horsepower and 339 pound-feet of torque, reaching 60 with boost and gauge at 5.8 seconds. 97 mpges for the city, 87 mpges for the highway, 19-inch 5-spoke alloy wheels. It's going to be a little bit more settle. This is the Premium Plus. S-Line will add the trim pieces to the lower and more of a sporty attribute for the front bumpers and the rear bumpers. Satin aluminum on the lower trim of the window seal and on the roof rails. Fully independent suspension, a McPherson strut front suspension, multi-link rear suspension, LED tail lamps with dynamic turn signals. We get the light bar underneath the Audi badging. This is not the Sportback, so it's more of a traditional SUV, which gives you a little bit more space. You're going to lose about 2 to 4 cubic feet of storage capacity when you go to the Sportback. So if you like the design, it looks a little bit more athletic and aerodynamic for the rear. But if you want that traditional look and to just maximize cargo capacity and you're still getting the speed, this is the way you go. Satin aluminum on the lower with reverse parking sensors and a reverse camera. e-tron badging over the diffuser and a power lift gate going into 24.8 cubic feet. Underneath the floor, you'll have storage that opens up because we don't have a frunk. You can also adjust this to make it longer for the width with a 12-volt charger on the side. You can move this down to extend it for the depth. So that way you're gaining about 3 to 4 inches. Split fold the rear bench at a 40-20-40 split with a pass-through. And that will increase the cargo to 51.3 cubic feet. If you want to make it a flat floor, pull this out, slide it down. And because this is not the Sportback, you will receive a lot more cargo space from top to bottom. 12-way power seat adjustments, black leather for the front occupants, heated front seats, memory for the driver. Headroom starts at 38.5 inches, legroom at 38.3 inches. Because of the way it is set up, it is more wide for the footwell, and the center cluster is a little bit more smaller and sleek, so you have a lot more maneuver, so you have a lot more room for a long journey. 11.6-inch MMI touchscreen with navigation because it's a Premium Plus with Sirius XM 360L and Sonos sound system. To put it into your drive select, you can also individually tailor that for the drive and the steering so you can get quicker speeds. Put it into reverse. We got a reverse camera with trajectory. The ID4 will have a 12-inch standard with standard navigation. 10.25 Audi virtual cockpit, and it is configurable to make it easier for the driver with the zoom in and zoom out. Touch sensitive for the 4-spoke leather wrap steering wheel. It's heated with the paddle shifters. We do not receive the gear lever here like you would on the ID4. you have it right here, so it is a little bit more unique. Touch sensitive pad to turn on and off. The audio sound system, gloss black satin aluminum, and this setup here is going to be very similar to the ID4. We have a wireless QI charger, which is derived because of the Premium Plus, USBs, 12 volts, and a storage up in the front. The key fob for the Q4, it's going to be more sporty. Open up inside. It's a deep storage pocket, just not as wide, and we do not receive any pass-throughs. The air vents and the gloss black go into the dashboard, and I do like how it has a circular design for the dash and the door panels, and it keeps that Audi look, so it has a little bit more of a distinct styling. It's going to be more sporty, one touch up and down for all the windows, and a small storage pocket that you could probably fit a couple of 16.9 ounce and a long panel moonroof with a edgeless auto dimming rear view mirror. It does not receive any home link, which would be for your garage door opener. That's new for 2024. Passenger side gets the e-tron and the satin aluminum with dual air vents and the wood trim that's going to inlay over the MMI, and it keeps that sporty styling of Audi for the driver cockpit. The back seat's headroom is at 41.2 inches, which is more than the front. Legroom is the same at 38.3 inches. Storage behind both of the front seats. Third climate control, USB, 12 volt. Some air vents in the center. It's going to be soft where it needs to be. We're going to fold that up for later on. The door panel gets the same materials that's found in the front, so it's going to be more everyday, sporty, and an area that you can fit a flask with some storage in the lower tier. Sliding over into the center, the floor is more or less flat. Just because of the way this is, you will be sharing some feet space. The rails are pushed up. Button shoulder space is not too bad for this SUV, but if you go into the Sportback, you will not have the same headroom because it's going to slope down because of the fastback design. One big difference between the ID4 and the Q4 50 e-tron, you can option a 58 kilowatt lithium-ion battery pack with that one, which will give you 275 mile range, 201 horsepower. Here, when you get the 295 horsepower or 82 kilowatt lithium-ion battery pack, it's the same as the Volkswagen ID4, except you get 255 mile range. Here you get 236 mile range. 0 to 60s are basically the same numbers as the ID4. Exterior is going to look a little bit different because of the way Volkswagen has designed the ID4. You have a light bar in the front and also in the rear. Here you keep it in the rear, so it does share some attributes. In the interior, it is going to be an extreme difference. Another big difference between the two, you have 170 kilowatt for DC charging, and that's going to get you about 30 minutes. On the Audi, you get 150. It's going to take about 36 minutes, so it's a little bit longer charging, but both of them will take about 9 hours on a level 2 for a 240 volt. We're going to go into dynamics and hit it here so we can see the speed. Here we go. Definitely kicks you back. Anything that has over 330 pound-feet of torque is definitely a pleasant vehicle. I mean, look at this. Ever so quick. And 5.8 seconds is fast by any standard, because most vehicles nowadays are getting a 0 to 60 around 7 to 9 seconds. Now it's going to take me to some pros and cons about the vehicle. Starting with the pros, Audi did a good job in the sense of only giving one battery option, so that way you don't necessarily have to sacrifice in performance. You're getting that 0 to 60 under 6 seconds. You can option the Sportback or traditional SUV style, so you either get the aerodynamic look or you get more cargo capacity and headroom for the rear occupants. The interior is going to be a little bit more spacious than most of the rivals. It'll be very similar to the ID4 except for the dashboard layout. So the front is going to be more unique to Audi, whereas Volkswagen is more unique to Volkswagen. Here we go. It's definitely quick. Everybody is going to be a speck on the side view mirrors. Going into some cons about the vehicle, because they share a lot of attributes with Volkswagen, I'm not necessarily a fan of that because the price to this goes into the $60,000 price point. Another disadvantage is the air. It's over 100 degrees today in Florida, and it likes to blow more of an eco air. You can change that to make it blow a little bit more so, but because it's black on black, it's still going to be hot. As you get up to a higher speed, road noise filters in a little bit. We have acoustic windows for the front, which is because we have the Premium Plus package. For 2024, they're not really changing too much that makes me say don't get a 23. Only major thing is the home link or your garage door opener, which I don't necessarily understand why it's not a standard feature or even an option here, but it's electric vehicle, so you're gonna have some quirks throughout. I do like that we have plenty of power seat adjustment for the front occupants, and it is comfortable even with these larger wheels. You just kind of glide over. I'm not a big fan of the pattern design of the wheels. The S-Line trim is definitely a delight because it gives a little bit more of a sport heritage. The screen being smaller than the Volkswagen is definitely a con. I get it, the digital gauge cluster is bigger. Just when you're going Audi, you want everything to stand out. I like this system better than Volkswagen though, because it's a little bit more or less glitchy and it's more intuitive, whereas that one, it's kind of like you got to click in, click out, click in, click out. Everything isn't derived through the MMI. And give her a go. That's the best part about electric vehicles. You get so much power that just puts a smile on your face, especially if you're not sold on the electric movement like me. I like what they're doing. It's just where I live in most of the United States does not have the grid for it. If you are in an area that has a grid for it, then I am all for it as well, because it just makes sense. You're going to save quite a bit of money when you're driving these vehicles. 97 mpges for the city, 87 mpges for the highway. Charging times isn't necessarily too bad. They haven't really done too much to make them a lot faster. When I started doing reviews on these electric vehicles, that was one of the things that they were doing, is trying to make it go faster for quick charges and overnight charges. Now, for the past couple of years, it just seems like, you know what, people are buying electric vehicles. Going back to the competition, the Volvo XC40 Recharge is a great vehicle. It's going to have a smaller screen because it has the 9-inch vertical touchscreen. It does have a digital gauge cluster that is Google interfaced, and they finally have adapted Apple CarPlay, which they didn't have that when it came out, and they still don't have Android Auto, which it's a Google interface. But that's nor here nor there. As for performance numbers, very quick vehicle. You're getting it right around 5 seconds flat. So it's actually faster than this, but you're gonna get less range. It's gonna have less interior and cargo capacity. Going against Tesla, I'm just not a huge fan of Tesla. I feel it looks more like a spaceship instead of an everyday vehicle. At least when you go to Volkswagen or Audi, you still have an SUV image or appearance, and even in the interior it still has that. I do like that when you get into the vehicle, you have the key fob, you just push the brake, it automatically starts. You don't have to engage the actual start or push start button, and they're not doing any cards, which I don't mind. Digital readers, just like a key fob, because once we keep going to this level, ultimately they're going to start charging you for a key fob. Turn radius at a stop point, pretty tight, right at 2 lanes. This is an efficiency, so the pedal is a lot heavier when you put it into an eco mode. When you put it into dynamics, it's night and day difference. It's going to have a little bit more space in the center for the Q4 opposed to the Id4. I personally would choose the Audi over the Volkswagen because you're getting an extra year in warranty. Both of them are very good in the sense of ticking the box of everyday use. You don't buy this car for towing or payload, but you still have capabilities to do that. And you have a fun factor behind it too when you engage the boost. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like. And I'd like to thank Audi of Clearwater for giving us this 2023 Audi Q4 50 e-tron Quattro for our car review.